How many of you have never gotten sick? How about never visited the doctors? In today's society, it's basically a requirement to visit the doctor's office. I myself have visited handfuls of doctors, whether it be dermatologists, endocrinologists, oral surgeons, general physicians, or dentists. I visited them all. As the competition rises in the medical field, the more pre-med students must do to enter it. Today, I will talk to you about the undergrad requirements and involvement for pre-med students, how to further your education in medical school, and the medical fields that I myself am interested in. Let's first take a look at what pre-med students are faced with in undergrad. I myself have chosen nutritional science, pre-health and research option as my pre-med major, and the reason why I really chose this was during my junior year of high school, I took an anatomy and physiology class, and I was really interested in it, and it opened my eyes to the medical field. And from then, I just kind of liked the idea of doing nutritional science. And in the article, Choose the Right Undergrad Major for Medical School by Edward Chung, who is a graduate of UCLA, there's a study done in 2012 that showed that only 51% of medical students are actually maintaining an undergrad major that is involved in the biological studies. The other 49% have majors in humanities, math, physics, and other health sciences like myself. And it kind of just shows that you don't necessarily have to have a science major to be pre-med. And this is kind of backed up by another study conducted in the article, Medical Students from Natural Sciences and Non-Sciences Undergraduate Backgrounds, published in the Journal of American Medical Association. And this compared the two groups of non-science and science majors using academic performance and residency selection to gauge their success, and they both did equally well, showing that science majors don't necessarily get into medical school better or do better in medical school. It really just matters that you fulfill your prerequisites in your major. And these prerequisites are 2 semesters of biology, 2 semesters of inorganic chemistry, 2 semesters of organic chemistry, 2 semesters of physics, all with a concurrent lab procedure, as well as 1 year of English and 1 year of math. And basically, from then on, your major fulfills all of your academics, and you'll move on to your extracurricular involvement in organizations in and out of the medical field. In her book, The Heartbeat of Success, A Med Student's Guide to Medical School Administration, Alexa M. Mises just spoke about how to involve yourself on campus in the community, and she really stresses a variety of extracurricular activities ranging from clinical, campus, to community. And she suggests that you need to have a clinical experience just so that you yourself have a realistic idea of what the health field is like, and so that all of the medical schools understand that you really are invested in this and you have immersed yourself in it to even the slightest bit, whether it be volunteering or shadowing at a hospital. And although you really do need to be involved in the clinical setting, you don't always have to be. You can be involved in other organizations that are not clinical, whether it be volunteering or being a leader on your campus. You just really need to be passionate about the organization and have a long-term commitment. And this long-term commitment will give you opportunities such as holding leadership roles and meeting individuals who will write you really genuine letters of recommendation. I myself am involved in the clinical setting through my pre-med club. This is an indirect medical relation, but I plan to volunteer at Mary Greenlee Hospital and Children's Hospital in Minnesota, both in the summer and during my school year. And for my campus, I'm involved in Homecoming. I am a member of Psi Squad this year, and I plan to be involved in it in further years on Homecoming Central and other things like that. And I was also involved in VISHA this last spring. And I'm also a member of my sorority, which is a good way to make connections and also be involved in fundraising and volunteering for the Ronald McDonald House, which is our national sorority. And I also plan to volunteer for an organization in the fall that matches college students with at-risk youths. And it really just gets you involved with your community. And I feel that all of these extracurricular activities are something that I'm passionate about and will continue on during my undergrad. And now that we have showed the preparation you have to do in undergrad, we can actually discuss the future education, and this involves a lot of preparation as well as going through medical school. So furthering your education in medical school, you're going to take the next step, preparing, applying, and making many big decisions. So your first step really is to take the MCAT, which will happen even before you graduate from your undergrad university. And the MCAT is the Medical College Administration's test, and is a 3-section test with physical science, biological science, and verbal reasoning, each covering math, physics, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, biology, and comprehensive and cognitive notes as well. And it's really important that you take this test early, usually your junior year, kind of like your ACT or your SAT, just so that you leave yourself room to retake it if you are upset with your score, or so that it gets to the schools on time. And then after you've taken this MCAT, you can actually really begin applying and getting into your schools. So the Association of American Medical College really controls the application process, and they use the AMCAS system, which is the American Medical College Application Service, which is accepted by most of the U.S. medical schools, except some in Texas don't use it. And they'll provide you with a primary application, which is basically just your coursework as well as your GPA and your MCAT score. And then these will be sent to the colleges and reviewed, and after they've been reviewed, if the college does decide to ask you back for a secondary application, this will call for more extra forms, letters of recommendation, and essays. And if you are accepted past the secondary application process, you will move on to interviews, and this is basically like the final step and final door of applying and getting into medical school. And just to ensure that you have a successful application, you have to have a good GPA, which is around or above a 3.5, a good MCAT score, which is also around a 30 or above. Usually a 34 to a 36 is an exceptional MCAT score, and a lot of extracurricular and community involvement. And now that you've actually applied, you can start thinking about what you're going to do in medical school, and you start to choose what specialty you will be immersed in your actual field of medicine. So according to Dr. DeVita in her article, Medical School 101, What Medical School is Really Like, published in 2010, the medical school process is a strict 4 years of schooling. Your first year is usually the hardest, and it involves a lot of memorization and science courses such as gross anatomy, medical ethics, and histology. And then you'll move on to your second year, which is similar. You'll have lectures and labs, but it'll be more clinically based. So you'll start to learn the actual diseases and cases that you'll work with in hospitals and begin to treat them. And your third year is really the big year where you start beginning clinical rotations, where you'll work in a team, and you'll go through rounds with all the specializations that your college actually provides for you. And the fourth year is basically the third year, but just more specialized. So you start to actually understand what you want to do. I myself have looked at many medical schools and considered many specializations, and have kind of narrowed myself down to either Baylor in Texas or the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, because they both hold really high and renowned specializations in dermatology and obstetrics. And after you've decided and gone through medical school, you can start to expect things as a doctor. We'll now start talking about those expectations, such as your typical workday and your typical salary. And I really found a good article in the Star Tribune that interviewed Garrett Baird, MD, a dermatologist in the Twin Cities, about his typical workday. And he said that he saw between 30 to 35 patients a day of all ages, and he usually treated acne, eczema, rosacea, lupus, skin cancer, psoriasis, and he also did treat and remove moles, growths, tumors, and other growths on your skin, and biopsied them for cancer. And then, as the medical field typically has higher salaries, you actually see a lot of variation between the different salaries of different specializations. So surgeons obviously have a really high salary, and other doctors may have a little bit lower, but it's still a quite rewarding salary. And the Medical Group Management Association reported that in 2010, a starting salary for a dermatologist, so this is right out of your residency, was around $280,000, while Salary.com reported that after about 6 years, the average salary for a dermatologist was around $306,000. In conclusion, I have explained to you the undergrad experience of a pre-med student, the process of furthering your education in medical school, and what to expect in different specializations, most specifically dermatology. It may seem like a long checklist of going through the pre-med, medical school, and medical fields, but it really is a rewarding process. I myself believe that becoming a doctor is a dually rewarding process, just because you get to help people with their livelihood. You get to make them feel better, as well as you've made it. You've made it that far. You've gone through your undergrad. You've done so many things, and you've kicked your butt in medical school, and you're there. You made it to the medical field.